You've had a very distinguished military career, and I guess a lot of other people that you're working with would probably come from the same backgrounds. When you're talking to business people or individuals on the ground and you're trying to get them out of a country, can you speak to the sort of language that you have to use in order to convey risk?
Yeah. So number one, this is a really good point, Michael. Most of our clients are US or Western based or Western Europe based. And we speak primarily to HR directors, chief security directors, chief information directors, because we're in the cyberspace, and COOs. Very, very rarely do we touch a CEO or a senior partner in a law firm. So here's the issue, and it's not their fault. And no different than I would not understand their business. They haven't been to combat. They haven't been in real crisis, right? So most of them, not all, but most. And we do this for a living. This is second nature. You asked earlier, we just got done. We got about 600 clients out of Afghanistan. We got about 400 clients out of Myanmar. We got a little over 350 clients out of the Paris attacks back in 2015. We got about 3,000 clients out when COVID hit, so on and so forth. So this is almost a natural thing for us, right? So this all comes down to framing the issue for them. So the first thing we're going to say is, in this case, but again, it is very unique. As I started, it's unique to all crises. You have population centers, you have a limited number of assets that everybody's going to want, and it pays to be a first mover. So what we try and convey to our clients is, one, right now there is a crisis brewing. It's easy to move. There's still commercial options. Everyone you can responsibly move, you should move if they're not key and essential to your business. And the ones that are going to stay, we want you to prepare them to stay. Satellite phones, food, water, housing, contingencies, evacuation plans that they depend on themselves, so on and so forth. Next is, if the crisis does come and all of those easy options disappear, here's what you have to understand. Assets will be limited, and we have to move with what is presented in front of us. These crisis zones, whether it's combat or natural disaster, are completely uncertain. So we're going to fight over those assets, vehicles, and agents to go get your people and move them. We have to adjust to what's the visa standard. In today's day and age, what's the COVID standard? What's your passport? Can you go cross-border? What does that look like? In this case, now know that from the Polish border to where we're going to stop and get into heavy traffic, 2 days ago, that was 50 miles from the border. We had clients that took 27 hours to move 8 kilometers. Like, you start to paint this picture that it is uncertain. There's no guarantees. And right now I've had to tell my clients, I can't go get any of your people in Kiev because the bombing and the Russians are too close. I can put your employees in our vehicles, but do you want to expose them to Russian tanks and Russian soldiers? This is the risk reward calculus. So once you frame all of that risk, and we tell them where we can move people because we think the risk reward and the risk is low enough, and where we can't. And those are tough conversations because most of our clients don't think like that. They're thinking, I have people in point A, I want you to move them to B, and it's that simple. Well, the reality is you're not on vacation, you're not in the Caribbean, or you're going to the beach and it's easy to just get out of the airport and get a taxi. Those days are gone. Everything we do has to be precise. An exact location and time of pickup, exact number of people. Everyone's limited to 1 bag, 1 small pet, no large cases. You can't bring other family members at the last minute. You can't bring your friends. We have an asset that fits 50 personnel. We're going to fill it to 50 personnel. You can't show up with 100 more people and not tell us. All these things that you would naturally think about all now matter. And understand, yes, we anticipate the movement from point A to point B is 5 hours. Once we get close, it could literally be 30, 40, 50 hours. And you might get within 7 miles. We have clients every day, once they get within 5 to 7 miles, that are literally walking to the border. And understand right now, the temperature is freezing. You have to dress properly. You have to have snacks. You have to have water. How are you going to take care of your child? Do you have diapers? All these things matter. If you have elderly or people that are in wheelchairs or have a disability, we're going to say you can't walk. You're going to spend another day in that vehicle until we get close. And then, yes, there is a quote unquote fast lane to fast track children and people with disabilities. My point is, Michael, to summarize, it's complicated. It never goes the way we plan it. It always changes. There's always a problem. And you have to be patient and understand you're in combat. Anything can happen. We can run into Russian troops. We could have a flat tire. We could have the government steal our buses. We've had that happen. We could go to the border one day and get within 10 kilometers. The next day, it could be 100 kilometers. There is just no certainty in these crisis environments. And that's the framework we try and communicate to our clients.
Just quickly before we change direction for one last time, how many people have you got out of Ukraine so far, and how many more are you hoping to get out?
Yeah, so we've gotten a little over 3,500 as of this morning, local time here in the United States. We have 9 planned movements tomorrow, which is about another 450 personnel. And we're in a cycle where we take requirements in and typically 36 to 48 hours, we're acting on it. So we're basically 2 days out in a planning cycle. And the reason we do that is, again, we want to be precise. You can't just say, I have people and live, go get them. It has to be an address. It has to be exact number of people. It has to be exact time, right? For expectation management and control. So as we go through this, we don't know, Michael, how many more people we might get out. I have a core client base that are mostly US or European based. Their corporate headquarters, tech, consulting, manufacturing, banking. Those are my primary clients. We're moving. We're now not moving expats anymore. The expats are out. We're moving local nationals that work for these large international firms. That's who we're moving. Most of them are families at this point. It's the employee of the firm plus their family. And I anticipate this will go on for at least another month, maybe longer. We evacuated people most recently out of Afghanistan for almost 3.5 straight months, nonstop. Every 48 to 72 hours, we were moving someone. So we're guessing. I think it's at least another month, but this all comes back to what do the Russians do? And nobody knows the answer to that. So this could go on for a month. It could go on for 6 months. It could go on for a year. If the Russians occupy, truly occupy, but they can't control the country, which is the assumption, this could go on for a year. No one really knows. And that's just, the business I'm in the world I came from, you have to be perfectly comfortable with complete uncertainty and ever-changing conditions. Literally every 24 to 48 hours, you're dealing with a different environment. That's the world we live in. And unfortunately, it is what it is. And I have people that, are wired that way. This is not a natural state. Human beings like certainty. We like to know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. We love certainty. That's the way we're built. This is the exact opposite. And you have to be conditioned over time for this kind of environment. And that's why we hire the people we hire, frankly. So to summarize again is, I think we'll continue every 24 to 48 hours, moving anywhere between 2 to 4 or 500 people on average. I think this goes on pretty consistently for at least another month. And then it really depends on the Russians, what they do. Do they occupy? Do they not occupy? Do they drop bombs and walk away? Do we find a diplomatic solution? All those uncertain answers will drive what happens next for us.